We're going to pick up where we left off last time, talking about wages that are, so we're talking about FICA, what's taxable for FICA. We talked about what's specifically taxed. Now we're talking about what's specifically exempt. And I think we left off here. Yeah, we left off here. So let's talk about kinds of things that, we're still talking about the kinds of things that are taxable. So do you have to pay FICA on your tips? Sure you do. That was the last thing we actually did, wasn't it? Where I was illustrating if you have a ton of tips, you don't have enough gross wages at $2.13 an hour to absorb your FICA bill. That's where we left off. Okay, so let's just do a quick example of that. If I work in Wyoming where they have to pay minimum tipped wage, not Montana where you get the full $8.25 an hour, minimum tipped wage, and I reported tips of $453 last week, I would like you to calculate my gross paycheck, subtract my OASDI, subtract my HI, and get me to my net. So if you're listening to this, I had tips of $453. I am in a state that pays minimum tipped wage. I want you to calculate my gross paycheck and subtract my OASDI and HI to come down to my net paycheck.
I'm assuming 40 hours?
Yes, thank you. 40 hours at minimum tip wage. So the first question is what are the gross wages? What times what?
213 times 40?
213 times 40, very good. You never include the tips in the gross wages because they've got that in their pocket, right? But I told you this because you have to use that plus the gross to do what? Calculate what, Al? Yeah, you've got to use gross plus tips to calculate OASDI and HI. Okay, so 4403 is the net paycheck. Just reinforcing, we practiced one of these on Friday, that when you have tips, you calculate, the gross paycheck's still just the 213 times 40. But you have to calculate the taxes on the tips plus the wages.
So it's still, just getting that, 4403.
I'm gonna cut a paycheck for $44.03. Not completely true, because we don't have federal income tax or state income tax in here, but for how much we've learned, this is what it would look like. Okay. So, and it says here on the last bullet, must withhold on the first paycheck after the tips are reported. So as soon as I submit my 4070 is the name of the form that I put my tips on and give to my employer, then they've got to withhold the FICA on my tips from that next check. What don't they have to withhold FICA on? If they give me meals and lodging for their convenience. I work on a ranch up on the High Line. I work harvesting cantaloupe and Amarillo. I mean, if there's a situation where I can't get to and from work every day and they provide me a place to stay and they give me meals because it's the only way they can get employees, then that does not show up on my W-2. That does not get taxed. Sick pay only after 6 consecutive months off. So I'm injured, I have some sort of disability plan, I've been off for 6 months because of the injury, and now my sick pay kicks in. I do not pay FICA on that. And then the difference between my regular pay and military pay if I'm a reservist, and I've been garnering that pay for more than 30 days. What about if my employer puts money into my pension plan? Does that show up on my W-2 and get taxed? No. What about if my employer helps me with my tuition? Nope. As long as it's a non-discriminatory plan. A non-discriminatory plan means that it's not just for like your high-level executives, but that anybody in the company can take advantage of it. And it's for up to tuition assistance of $5,250 a year. So if it was more than that, then that portion over $5,250 would be susceptible to FICA.
So if it was discriminatory, is that possible?
It is possible. I write a plan that says I'll do education assistance for my mid and top level executives, but if you're entry level, I don't give it to you. Then the mid and top level executives that's going on their W-2 and paying FICA and FIT on it.
What if it's, like, that either is that?
That's okay. You can have a probationary period for benefits to kick in. That doesn't make a plan discriminatory. Okay, so we know all this. We've just practiced it. Right? So that doesn't even barely bear repeating, except for if I was struggling with this, this would be the slide I would print out and imprint in my brain, because this is basically it. If you know this and you can run your calculator, you can calculate FICA. As we go to press means as the book was being published. So every year the caps change. That's why I was getting confused. The cap actually for this year, for 2019, is 128.9. But our book went to press in 2018, and that's the numbers we're using. Then I'm also working as an editor on next year's book, 2020, and that's a whole nother number. So they all just swim around.
A few numbers in there.
And the older I get, the more lack of clarity that I have what exactly that number came from. Okay, so you hear a lot of things about Social Security. Oh my gosh, it's going broke, it's going to run out. And it's really just demographics. In 1950, there were 16 workers paying into Social Security for every one person collecting benefits. By 2042, that ratio is projected to be 2 to 1. And the bottom line is, when I was a little girl, I was born in 1961. I mean, I did myself, but all my friends came from big families. 4, 6, 8, 10 kids. My dad had 11 siblings, right? We're not even replacing ourselves in America right now. There's about 0.8 babies being born for every one person. So tons of people in my kids' generation have either no kids or 1 kid. And we're really not even replacing ourselves. That's not good for Social Security at all, mathematically. Okay, so now we're going to take basically those problems I had to do earlier today were just big picture problems, like what happens all year, what's the total numbers. But really what our challenge is now is we need to figure out exactly what happens on a specific payroll. So let's kind of unpack this. So I've got an employee named Tamara, and she earns $138,000 a year at Caldwell Banker as a senior VP. And she's paid semi-monthly, so how many times a year is she paid? 24. Yeah, you were correct. So make sure everybody says that bi-weekly semi-monthly thing will just bite you in the butt. Semi-monthly is 24 times.
So I'm curious, is there 2 weeks that you just don't get paid for on a semi-monthly type basis?
No, not at all. It's whatever your wages are calculated in the year, you have to divide by that number of paychecks. So obviously, if you're paid bi-weekly, your paychecks are going to be smaller than if you're paid semi-monthly. Okay, so now we're on December 15th, and I'm running a payroll for her, and I want to know how much FICA to take out. So the first thing you need to figure out is what is her gross paycheck, A, and then B, the next thing I want you to figure out is how much has she made before today's payroll? Everybody clear on what we're doing? You need to figure out what each gross paycheck looks like. And then how much had she made all year before today's payroll? So, how much is each paycheck? Yep. How many times was she paid? Oh, that's a typo. How many times was she paid before the 12/15 payroll?
23.
22. Right?
So we're not counting.
How many times was she paid before today's payroll? 22. So if I take 22 times 5,750, I'm finding her prior year-to-date gross paycheck, right? How much has she grossed all year? Can you see why that's gonna be important? She's gonna cap on this paycheck, isn't she? Based on that number, tell me how much her OASDI withholding is gonna be and how much her HI withholding is gonna be. Okay, no, so let me just restate this again. So we're on the 15th of December, right, Maddie? And I'm trying to figure out what her FICA is gonna be. Okay. But I can't do that until I figure out if she's gonna cap or not for OASDI. So I had to go through all this to figure out where she was before she got to today. And when I see that number and just, now I can just do that in my head, and if I add on 5750, I'm gonna go over that cap, aren't I? So only a piece of that 5750 is gonna be taxable to the 6.2%. So she's made this much before today, and now I'm paying her another $5,750. What's gonna happen? She's gonna go over.
She just used the top.
Yes, she's already paid up to that amount, 126.5. She only pays up to, what's her number again, 128.7. So she only pays 6.2% on a little bit of it. But she pays 1.45 on the whole thing, right? And we don't have the 0.9 issue because she's not going over 200. Give it a try and then I'll show you. Go ahead. Yeah, because she's already been paid 22 times. She's already been paid 22 times. She's on her 23rd paycheck of the year. Current numbers.
Students caps, right?
She does cap. So you can't just go to the 5750 and take the full 6.2. Because she caps this paycheck. Only a piece of it's gonna be taxable for
How many less than
6.2.
with the 5750, everything else is just gonna be capped?
You just gotta figure out how much of her paycheck does she have to pay the 6.2% on. So only 2,200 of it is susceptible to the 6.2. Because she's made 126.5, she stops paying at 128.7. So only the difference between that year-to-date and the cap is taxable. We'll try another one. Light bulbs are going off, I can see it. So it's supposed to be just like cartoons where you see the pop. And there's nothing to worry about with the HI because we know it doesn't cap and we don't have the over 200,000 concern. Oh, we could, but we don't. And of course, the employer matches everything. So whatever those numbers are together is the total. Uno más problema. Should we practice? Practicar uno más problema. We'll practice one more problem. Sambit earns $225,000 a year. He's a research scientist at Johns Hopkins. And he is paid monthly. And we're running the November 30th payroll. Calculate how much he makes per paycheck and calculate Sambit's prior year-to-date gross. And then let's see if he capped and what to do about it. I could manage my budget on that every month if I had to. How many times has he been paid before today? 10. So Sambit's interesting in a different way from our friend Tamara was. What's the issue with Sambit?
He's already been.
There's no OASDI at all, is there? He's long been over the 128.7. But what do you have to think about with him?
He's over 200.
A piece of his paycheck is gonna do what? Throw him over 200 grand. So you can't just take the 1.45, I mean, you start by taking the 1.45 on the whole thing. But he's also got an additional bill on the amount that goes over 200 grand, doesn't he, for his paycheck? Because mine's juiced up for someone Monday morning, huh? So he's paying that 0.9% on $6,250, right? That's 187,850 plus 18,750 is gonna put him up to this number. He was at 187.5, right? And if he makes another 18,750, after today's check, he's gonna be at 206,250, right? Oh, more light bulbs. So, here, so no, I've seen some. So 6,250 of that is gonna have that additional 0.9%. So what's wacky about this is, can we say that this number plus this number plus this number, okay, so that's 328.13, is that how much the employer is gonna match? No, because
They don't have to do that.
the employer does not do the additional 0.9. That's what the employer is only gonna pay in this. 271.88. Okay, one more brain twister in the next 4 minutes. And you guys, please go back and look at these. And or listen to it. Okay, so now we've got this issue of self-employment. It's just all the numbers are double, 6.2 plus 6.2, or 1.45 plus 1.45. That's where the 12.4 and the 2.9 come from. And the 15.3 is 7.65 plus 7.65. And in a world where my net income's under 128,700, it's easy peasy. I can just multiply it by 15.3%. But it's the same issue. When I get between 128,700 and 200,000, the game changes. And when I get over 200 grand, the game changes again. So here's the big issue, and this happens all the time in this valley. I've got a job, 40,000 bucks a year, single mom, doesn't cut it for me, I've got to do something else. So I, fill in the blank. I've got a little coffee cart, or I do some tax returns, or I do nails on the weekend, or whatever. I've got self-employment income. So I've got a W-2 and self-employment income. They both count towards that $128,700 cap. So the example I'm gonna give you now is not the 40,000 plus the meals on weekend, it's a pretty good sized W-2 and also some self-employment income. And between the two of them, it throws you over your cap. So let's just look at this example. Celia has a W-2 of $138,768. What do you immediately see by that? She's done paying Social Security or OASDI. And her self-employment income is $14,500. So does she have any FICA? Don't look at the slide just for a second. Does she have any FICA? She's done paying OASDI. Does she still have to pay HI? Sure she does. How many shares? Both. 1.45 plus 1.45. So her FICA or her SECA tax, her entire self-employment tax is 14,500 times what? 2.9%.
So it doesn't.
Her total, oh, that should take SECA, sorry. Self-employment, both shares.
Shannon will get rolled into her W-2 as well.
She's already made 138,768 on her W-2. So she stopped paying OASDI just from her paycheck.
So is she paying 2.9 on the 14.5 and 1.45 on the 138.7?
Yes. Did you hear David's question? He said, what percentage is she paying of her W-2 into HI? What percentage of her W-2 is she paying into HI? 1.45. What percentage of HI is she paying from her self-employment income? No, 2.9. Because now she's both. Okay, you guys are like, oh.
So she's
All right.
getting hit.
So I'd like you to do, sorry, go ahead.
It's like 3 times though, really?
No, so the first one, 138,768 is just for work.
Well, for HI, it's triple. She does the
Well,
self-employment.
no, it's one share, just the employee share up to the 138 number.
Right, that's what it's.
Then she makes, but on that number.
Right.
So then above that, between the 138 and the 153, when you add them together, yeah, that's self-employment income. She pays 2 times on that and 1 time on this. She's not paying 3 times on any $1.
It's just the
No, no.
first second.
It's just staggered.
She's getting taxed.
Stacked.
Percentage.
Son of a gun, huh? Okay, so for Wednesday, I'm not here. You know that. No class on Wednesday, I said that last week, right? Here's what you need to do for Friday. You need to do the review and discussion questions. And you need to go to irs.gov and print 2 941s. irs.gov and go down here under forms and instructions. Click. And then plug in 941. And it'll come up, employer's quarterly federal tax return. And it's 4 pages, you only print the first 2 pages. But you need 2 of them. irs.gov, forms and instructions, 941, first 2 pages, 2 copies. Okay, see you on Friday.
Just review and discussion questions?
Yep.